What the hell is up, YouTube? I'm going to tell you guys how Jake Paul is going to get his head ripped clean off. It's going to fly into the third row at the Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida, when he's fighting in his rematch against Tyron Woodley this weekend. That's right. It is my official predictions. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, the big mega fight. You don't want to be anywhere else unless you're seeing Spider-Man. You don't want to be anywhere else but watching this fight. So let's dive right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, Tommy Fury pulled out of the fight due to a rib injury and a chest infection. He was supposed to be the one fighting Jake Paul. And I gotta wish Tommy Fury a speedy recovery. He's the brother of heavyweight champ Tyson Fury, and he was a Love Island TV star. He was on Love Island's one of their seasons, I believe. But nonetheless, Tommy Fury's a very famous, very popular guy. Something's in my hat right here. But nonetheless, they were supposed to fight. Tommy Fury had to pull out. I didn't like that fight in the first place. The only reason why Jake Paul was doing it is because everyone was putting out the narrative that, oh, he doesn't fight a real boxer. Okay, he did the right thing in challenging a real boxer. But if you look at the records of the guys that Tommy Fury has faced, you could say that Tommy Fury is not a real boxer either. I mean, Tommy Fury's fought a guy that has 10 wins and 126 losses. I mean, if you want to see that video, just go ahead right here on my TikTok at HollywoodAJ1. You can see all the videos I make, not only about Jake Paul, but of celebrities, athletes. But in a certain TikTok that I have, I go over the losses that Tommy Fury's opponents have had. So he gets hurt. I never liked that fight for Tommy because he was going to lose. We weren't going to really find anything out about Jake Paul except how dominant he was as a boxer currently, and how he was a former YouTuber, how he transitioned over. But Tommy Fury had to pull out, and I applaud Jake Paul for this. The show must go on. He is proving that he is a real fighter by saying, I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. The show must go on. I got to keep this card together because there's a lot of other fighters that earn their paycheck this way, so I'm keeping this card together. And who is that person that's going to be taken on him? That's his former foe, Tyron Woodley. They fought back in August of this year. It was a great fight. Very huge buildup. It seemed like that fight took forever to materialize. It was announced in like July, happened a month and a half later. And we got a lot of questions answered, but we didn't get a lot of questions answered. And I'm not going to go into the narrative of, okay, Tyron Woodley won the fight on the scorecards or Jake Paul won on the scorecards. No. I wish I could go back and watch the fight, but no one has the full fight. All the big outlets just have the highlights. I want to go back and watch the full fight. Then I can give you guys my true narrative on who actually won. But here's how this fight is going to be a lot different, okay? Tyron Woodley had 2 weeks to prepare for this. Basically one. On fight week, you don't really do anything. The rumor is Tyron Woodley has already been training. There's a difference between I'm working out, I'm doing cardio, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No. Tyron Woodley is always in fantastic shape. But Tyron Woodley eats, sleeps, and breathes the sport of boxing. Now, especially that he was a free agent since being cut from the UFC back in March. But he doesn't have anything to worry about but boxing. Same thing as when he was world champion. He was living, breathing, eating, sleeping the combat sport or the sweet science. Okay? It was different because in that first fight, Tyron Woodley didn't know what to expect. And he admits that I saw what he did to Ben Askren. I saw what Jake Paul did to Nate Robinson. And that made me a little hesitant. There was many times that Tyron Woodley could have taken initiative and turned the tide of the fight. Jake Paul was putting together great combinations, but we also saw Jake Paul slow down. All right. And later on as the fight goes, Jake Paul was slowing down, and you can make the argument Tyron Woodley took a few rounds off of Jake. But like I said, that's a different conversation for a different day. Tyron Woodley didn't know what to expect in that first fight because Jake Paul is kind of a unicorn in the sport of boxing. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if Jake Paul's going to be patient, if he's going to go out there like a bat out of hell. And that's what made Tyron very hesitant. This time, though, and this is what made Tyron a champion, he knows what he has to do to win. He knows what Jake is going to bring to the table, and Tyron himself knows what he has to do to go out there and produce a knockout in devastating fashion. I think we're going to see Jake Paul get tested more than we have ever had. I mean, last fight that he had against Tyron was Jake Paul's hardest fight. But this fight is going to be harder than that fight. The only thing I'm concerned of is if Tyron Woodley doesn't let his hands go like we're accustomed to seeing, then Jake Paul's going to have himself a night. I hate to say this, but Jake Paul's going to come out and it's going to be very much like the first fight. Number two, the rumors, as I said, Tyron Woodley's been training. Where will his gas tank be? Is he going to be conservative in the first few rounds and then just turn it on completely in rounds 4 through 8? Is Tyron Woodley going to go out in the first round, guns blazing, try and take Jake Paul's head clean off his shoulders? Either way, it's going to be very interesting, but I'm definitely looking forward to see how Jake Paul's going to respond, simply because this fight is going to be totally different. And I just explained why, but Jake Paul's going to have his hands full. You know, Tyron Woodley's kind of coming in with nothing to lose. And Tyron Woodley is obviously the more well-rounded fighter. Jake Paul has been tested in that first fight, should have been ruled a knockdown, but I think we're going to see him go through a standing 8 count, and he's going to get rattled, maybe a flash knockdown, and finally we are going to see what we're truly dealing with here. Is Jake Paul a real fighter, or is Tyron Woodley the Tyron Woodley of old? If that's the case, I see Tyron Woodley winning this fight. Jake Paul, I'm not saying Jake Paul's not going to win at all. As I said before, it's going to be a great fight, and I cannot wait for it. But I do think Tyron Woodley gets it done. I think he knocks him out in the 5th round. I'm going to go with the 5th round knockout for Tyron Woodley, maybe even TKO. But nonetheless, Tyron Woodley wins, and that's going to set up a trilogy into next year, because Jake Paul's not going to let this sit with him like any other fighter would. He's going to want to go in there and try and get that win back. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great card. It's going to be an amazing fight, and I simply cannot wait, because this is the fight that should have happened right off the bat. Instead of us flirting with Tommy Fury and Jake Paul fighting, no. What should have happened was immediately running it back for us to see Jake Paul and Tyron, and we're going to get it, and I cannot wait. You best believe I'm going to be there watching it 1,000,000%. I just love this. I love celebrity boxing. You can make the argument Tyron Woodley is a celebrity himself. He has a few rap albums. He was in a few movies. He was on Wild 'N Out a few times. So this is definitely a good fight. If the first fight was a classic, it was one of the best boxing matches I've seen in a while. This fight's going to be even better. And like I said, Tyron Woodley is going to know what to expect. He's going to go out there and fix things. And we're going to see Tyron Woodley knock out Jake Paul. And we're going to see a third fight in the middle of 2022. Like I said, if you want to see me talk more about Jake Paul, any other form of combat sport, I mostly talk about UFC, go ahead, click that subscribe button. Comment on just what your take is on this entire fight card, on this entire fight. Who are your picks? Most of all, stay safe, stay healthy, keep it 100. I'm out.